Hi and welcome to today's tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can train Dreambooth models using Google Colab. So it means that you don't have to use your own computer's GPU, which I know for some people can be a problem. I'm going to jump straight into this. It's going to be a very simple, very basic, just like my other tutorials. I try and aim this channel to complete beginners or people that are having issues, and I try and simplify things as much as possible just to get things working. If you want advanced tutorials, there are plenty online, and you can dive much deeper into things once you start to learn the software a bit more. But for now, this is just about how to get somebody's face that you want to train, be it a celebrity or somebody you know or whatever, into Dreambooth and then into Stable Diffusion. I'm going to be using Automatic 1111, which is installed locally on my PC. But you'll be able to use the model in any service that allows CKPT files to be loaded. So that includes things like Invoke AI if you're using that. So anyway, I'm going to jump straight into it and show you what the first step is. So as you can see, all I've done is created a very simple prompt and created an image of Kevin Bacon. Now this uses the 1.5 model card from Stability AI, and for me, it has his overall look, it has his stance and perhaps the hair, but his face just isn't quite there. Now that means that the 1.5 model card from Stable Diffusion didn't quite train on Kevin Bacon enough. For example, this one looks more like Elton John. This one, the face is okay, but I don't know what's happening with the forehead. And this one is a lot better, but it still isn't quite there. So I'm going to be showing you the difference from Stability AI's version to my personally trained version, and I'm going to be showing you how I trained a new model of Kevin Bacon to look a little bit more like him. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to come over to huggingface.co and you want to do a search up here for Stable Diffusion 1.5. Now for me it's not coming up because I've already accepted it, but for you, if it's your first time going here, you will see a message either right here in the middle or somewhere down the bottom asking you to accept the agreement. You want to click yes on that, and then you'll start seeing all of this information here. That's just letting Hugging Face know that you want to accept the use of this model, which means that we can use a token in Colab, which means that we can bring it all together and the training will work properly. So once you've done that, you need to then go over to your profile picture here and click on Settings and click on Access Tokens. Now ignore my one, I've already created one, but what you can do is, let me just get rid of that so you can see. You click on New Token, you type in, I'm gonna call it Kevin Bacon DB, DB for Dreambooth, so K Bacon DB. What you don't want to do is just call it Kevin Bacon, because of course Stable Diffusion already knows the term Kevin Bacon to mean the actor. You want to try and make sure that yours is different enough from just a name. So even if you had a number or a sequence of codes or something after the name, for me I've done K Bacon DB. That means that it won't accidentally get mixed up with any other prompt, and it will only mean to call my model when I ask it to. You also want to click, instead of where it says read, you want to click write and click generate a token. And this will produce a token. I will show you that token. This will produce that token, so you can just click copy. And now the Hugging Face is sorted. You no longer need Hugging Face. The next step that you want to do is go to the link in the description, which is the Last Ben Google Colab. And this is where we're going to do all of our training. So the next step that you want to do is head over to the link in the description for the Last Ben Fast Stable Diffusion. This will open up the Fast Dreambooth Colab that I used for all of my training, as I just find it much easier. It isn't necessarily the fastest way of training. There are services that can train within 20 minutes. This takes about 40 minutes, but for me personally it gives me by far the best results that I've seen on any service. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to click on the very first cell and click the play button. and this will say a warning because this is made by GitHub or by Last Ben and not by Google, so anything that's non-Google owned or created, it will just throw up a warning. But you click run anyway, it's perfectly safe. This just uses your Google Drive account. This doesn't interfere with any of your files or photos or videos or anything like that. It just puts on a few files that it needs in order to train. Click on the connect to Google Drive, and I'm going to click on my account here and scroll down and click allow. Give it a moment to show a green tick. There may be some elements of this that I speed up just through ease, just so you guys don't have to wait too long. But this one, as you can see, was pretty quick, only 23 seconds. Next, you want to click on dependencies and let that do its thing. This one I'm going to speed up. Okay, so that's that cell complete. It did that in around 1 minute or 52 seconds here. The next cell, you do have to do one thing. Two, you want to go back to your Hugging Face page and you want to copy that token that you created in the previous part of the video. So I'm just going to copy that, go back to Dreambooth, and I'm going to copy and paste it directly into this part here that says Hugging Face token, and click go. Okay, so that's that section done. As you can see, it says done in green here, and it's got the tick. It took roughly about a minute, which is pretty good. So the next stage that we're going to do is you create load a session. Here you want to type in the same name that matches your token name on Hugging Face. So in my case, KBaconDB. Ignore that it's got a tick next to it. I just clicked it and filmed it, but the film didn't come out, so I'm just refilming it for you. So just KBACONDB, KBaconDB, and click go. And you'll see here that it took literally less than a second. Creating session created, proceed to uploading instance images. So next step, it wants images that it can train on. Now what I have done is I have already saved a whole bunch of Kevin Bacon photos, and I'm going to show you those now. Okay, so here's the photos that I saved, and I got all of these images from Getty Images, and what I did was I cropped the images of the watermark, so the Getty Images watermark. I just cropped that off, and as you can see, all I did was I used Photoshop. It doesn't matter about anomalies in the shirts and stuff, I just did it very, very quickly. And you also want them to all be a perfect square. Now, one of the things that for example, this one here, I chose this one here because it's a side profile view. You want to try and always get a side profile view. He was actually shaking somebody's hand in the photo, so I also just got a paintbrush and just edited that out. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no point in spending hours making this look like a perfect image of just Kevin Bacon, when really the training is only going to concentrate on him anyway. But I just didn't want the extra hand to be associated with Kevin Bacon, and suddenly everything you produce with that prompt will have 4 arms or something like that. So I wanted to make sure that anybody else that was in the photos, this one, the drum kit didn't matter here, sorry, the drummer didn't matter because he was obscured anyway. But I didn't want anybody else in the photos. These heads are blurred, so that didn't matter. So you just want to make sure that it is just the subject that you want in the photo. It makes such a big difference. And the other thing, if I go to detail view, you'll see that I've named every file the same name, so KBaconDB. And how you do that is, I'm just going to show you how I do it. I'm going to give it just a random name for a moment. You want to click on the first file, and you want to hold down this. I'm on a PC, so I'm holding down select, and I'm selecting the bottom file. You want to right click your mouse button on the first file and do rename, and I'm going to call it Kevin Bacon DB and hit enter, and that will rename them in numerical order, adding a number. That's perfect for our needs. So now that those photos are done, what you can do is use a service called bir.me. So to give you an example of how this works, I'm going to drag in an image of a image that is too big. It's not a perfect square, and I set mine to 1024 by 1024 perfect ratio of 1:1, and you can move this little box, and that is where the image will crop. So for example, I can center him here and click save file, and you'll see Getty Images, and that is now a perfect square compared to the excess that gets cut off. And obviously if you put it over here and do save file, then the image will be cropped to one side. So it's very, very simple, and you can do that for all of your images, which is what I did with mine that I showed you previously. It really, really makes a difference, and training works so much better when you can give it perfectly square images. If you don't give it perfectly square images, often training will fail. So now you've done that and you've got your photos ready, you want to click the instance images and click the arrow, click on choose files, and you want to select all of the files that you want to train your model on. So the ones that I showed you, I've got 18 of them, and you want to try and aim for between 15 and 20 images. Anything more, I find that the training almost is undertrained, and anything less, I find that it overtrains. So you want to click open and upload all of these images. I will pause this part for you until they're uploaded. Okay, so they are now uploaded. It took roughly 2 minutes, as you can just see there. 2 minutes to upload 18 pictures. So captions you can completely ignore. Concept images you can completely ignore. Because we're training it on a face, it doesn't really matter about those kind of images or concept images. So here's where the real important part starts. The Last Ben has recently changed the settings in his Colab that trains a lot faster. So instead of needing like 2,000 plus training steps, you only need 650, and the learning rate is faster. However, myself and plenty of others have had nothing but issues with this, and for me, I've not been able to get a single face trained using these settings. But the thing that you want to do is change this 650 to 3000. That is where you're going to get your best results. You're going to change the learning rate from 1E5 to 2E6. You want to leave 250 on 250. I found that to be fine. And you also want to change the text encoder learning rate to 2E6 as well. And you want to click start. That's all there is to it. Okay, so start. And sometimes this page can time out if you just leave it. You have to leave this window open until training completes. If you close the window, training will fail and you'll have to start all over again from the very, very beginning. So leave this window open, just in a new tab or whatever. Not in a new tab, sorry, just in a tab. And you just want to wait until the training completes. It will take approximately 40 minutes, okay, 40 minutes. But you can just leave it, it's fine, it will do its thing. What if you are worried about it timing out, what I found works is just by clicking the folder and then closing the folder again, and just scrolling just every 10 minutes or so. Just keep just a little bit of scrolling, open and close the folder. Don't sort of mess around with any of the files obviously because it's writing to them, but just open and close the folder and scroll, and then you're good for another 10 minutes or so. I'm a pro member of Colab, even though I'm not using the pro features right now. If I was, the training would be probably done in about 20 minutes instead of 40, but I'm just using the standard because I know that's what most people will use. So I don't know if my timeout has been disabled because I'm a pro member, but I've never had any timeout issues. But if you do, just now and again, just open up the folder and that should work. So I'm going to once again pause it. I'm going to wait until this is done, and then I'll show you how to load the model into your Automatic 1111 or whatever version you're using. I'm using Automatic 1111, and we'll see if the model works. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that is now completed. I have now closed out of the Colab, and I'm now into my Google Drive, because here is where it copies the CKPT file. So you want to go into My Drive, Fast Dreambooth, Sessions, KBaconDB, and here is the file that you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to download this. This will go to your downloads folder. I'm obviously going to skip that part because it's about 2 GB in size. It doesn't take too long, but you know, you don't want to sit there and watch me download it. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll show you the next step. So as you can see, here is my downloads folder, and you can see kbacondb.ckpt file, just over 2 GB in size, and we need to copy this or cut and paste straight into Automatic 1111. So I'm going to click right mouse button, I'm going to do cut, and I'm going to navigate to my Automatic 1111 folder. Okay, so here is my Stable Diffusion folder, and once you're in that main folder, you want to go to Stable Diffusion Web UI, scroll down to Models, then Stable Diffusion, and here is my model page. So I'm going to right click the mouse button and do paste, and there you go. So now I've got the kbacondb. So now I'm just going to run Automatic 1111, and as you can see, it's now going to be running, and I'm going to load this up, and I'm going to show you how you can start doing prompts with your new model. Okay, so we are now in Stable Diffusion, and I'm just going to copy and paste my negative prompts in. If you are interested in negative prompts, which I find are so important for getting good results with Stable Diffusion, I will put them in the video description for you. Feel free to copy and paste them in, and just use them as negative, and it means that you'll get things like better hands and less anomalies in pictures. Of course, it doesn't stop them all, but it will help. So now we're going to type in the same prompt. I'm going to do a photo of, but instead of this time typing in Kevin Bacon, we're going to be using our name that we chose for the file. Now, because we put the file in before we loaded Stable Diffusion, you'll see that the file can now be loaded here, kbacondb. Now this is on the checkpoint drop down menu. So we're going to choose kbacondb, wait for it to load. So that's now loaded in. So I'm going to do a photo of kbacondb standing in a field, which was the same prompt. I'm not saying that the same image is going to appear, but the same prompt. And I'm going to leave this on sampling steps of 20. I'm going to up this to 768. It's important that when you train your own model, do not click Restore Faces. If you click Restore Faces, the AI will try and change the face, and then of course you lose the likeness. So if you're using your own trained model, do not click Restore Face. It's very important. It will make the model look like it hasn't worked at all. So I'm going to up the batch to 4 just so we've got a good selection. I'm going to lower the CFG scale to 6, which is giving Stable Diffusion a bit more control and power over how it represents Kevin Bacon's face. The higher that level is, the more accurate that will be, but then it won't be able to accurately create an image that looks good, just one that matches your prompt. So I'm now going to hit generate, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so that is now completed, and I know instantly most people will think, oh my god, they look horrendous. But there is a little trick that you can do to make them look so much better. It's because the sample steps is low. So I'm going to show you these. Now, as you can see, some of them look worse than the ones before. Look at this one here, for example. However, here's where the in-painting feature really comes into its own. So look at this one here, for example. It's very similar to the other one that we produced, or one of the other ones that we produced, but I'm going to click send to inpaint, and I'm going to paint over his face like so, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to tick inpaint at full resolution. That's fine, everything else is fine. I'm going to up the sample steps to 40, and I'm going to just produce a couple of them at 6 again, and lower to 0.55. 0.55 is telling Stable Diffusion, try and keep it as similar to the existing one as possible. The higher, you're telling it, do what you want, how you got free reign, and underneath is almost telling it, never change a thing. So go to about 5.5, that's fine, and I'm going to click generate. Okay, so we now have the results. And if I open these up for you, how awesome does that look? That is now an actual picture of Kevin Bacon. Like, it's just him. You can just tell it's him. It's so much better. And this is where a lot of people don't really go into detail enough into how to get a good result. But as you can see, I'm going to save this image, and I'm going to put a side-by-side comparison of the original one compared to this one. Okay, so this image here was the original image we created using the 1.5 model card of Stable Diffusion. And as you can see, it doesn't look anything like Kevin Bacon. The features wise, the stance and the body and stuff, yeah, you could see that as Kevin Bacon, the hair, but not the face. Now, you obviously can't expect Stable Diffusion to be trained on every single person in the world, so something has to give at some point, but it doesn't really look like him. Next up, we have the original image that we produced before using inpainting. And as you can see, I don't know who that is. That looks absolutely horrendous. It looks nothing like him, but that's before inpainting. But now, here is the one after we did inpainting. How amazing is that? That looks really, really good. And the reason why that happens is because with inpainting, you're telling it to paint the trained face at full resolution. Stable Diffusion by default, unless it's a close-up image of somebody's face, it doesn't paint at full resolution. So what you get is you get images like this which look horrendous. But it kind of knows, even body-wise and stuff, it knows who it's trying to make. So if we add, for example, close-up, and instead of photo, change it to portrait, we might get a bit more of a better outcome from the get-go rather than having to go through inpaint. So I'm going to create just a couple here just to show you what I mean. Okay, so here is what Stable Diffusion just produced. Now as you can see, although there's a bit of an issue with the eye, but once again that could be fixed in inpainting, but it looks so much better. It looks a lot more like him, and this one as well looks way more like him. You could look at that now and say that's Kevin Bacon. Like, even before anyone has to ask who that is, you'd say, well, that's Kevin Bacon. But if you ever wanted to fix just one part of an image, like for example this, I think it's a good image, but his eye doesn't look quite right. So do center inpainting, make sure you reset your brush, and I'm going to paint over just that eye, and I'm also going to paint over the second eye because I want them to match. I'm going to go down here and make sure that my sampling steps are at least 40 because that's what we chose for the face overall, and I'm going to change the denoising strength. I'm going to push it up to about 70 because I want to tell Stable Diffusion, you control it. I want you to create the best eyes that you possibly can for this image. Ignore my instructions because clearly the original prompt, something went wrong with that eye. So now I'm going to hit generate and we'll see what we get. Okay, so that is now completed, and as you can see, it's completely fixed that eye. Both versions, with this version it's made his eyes a little bit higher, and this version it's made them a little bit lower, but either way, how amazing does that look compared to the original outputs that we were getting? That to me looks like an actual real photo of Kevin Bacon. If I saw that on a website, if I googled Kevin Bacon and saw that on a website, I would instantly think that was a real photo. I wouldn't even for a single moment believe that that was an AI created image. So as you can see, it works really, really well. And also, just to end on, here is another prompt that I've just done with the Kevin Bacon model. As you can see, once again, the face wasn't great and he was meant to be riding a unicorn. So what I did was I sent it to inpainting, and I did the same technique as before for the face, but this time I also drew a mask here and I wrote unicorn horn and upped the denoising because that's important. That allows Stable Diffusion to try and create whatever it sees fit. And as you can see, it's now added the unicorn horn and his face is so much better. That one still didn't work for some reason, but this one here, amazing. And one final tip, if you save this to your desktop or wherever you want and upload it to a website called replicate.com and use their GFP GAN model, which there will be a link in the description for. You can upload it here and click on submit. And this will use AI to increase the size and the quality of the image. As you can see, if I open up both of these, this is quite a small image. I can't maximize this or anything. And this is the new output. And that's definitely Kevin Bacon riding a unicorn. So the model definitely works. So yeah, there you go. Have fun with it. Please use it responsibly. And I hope you've liked this tutorial. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has gotten me over 300 subs. I really didn't expect that. I know that's still pretty small in YouTube terms, but for me, wow, I'm amazed by that so many people want to keep updated with my tutorials. So thank you for watching. I hope it's been of some help. Please feel free to leave some comments in the comments section of fails or successes, and I'll try and help out however I can. So yeah, thank you again. Cheers.